Most people think coaching is all about goals, and I am going to knock that on its head. I'm Ruth Kidsey. This is the Coaching Hub. Let's get into this now. So lots and lots of people think coaching is all about goals. And do you know that only about 20% of people are motivated by goals? Probably the language. I was just thinking there that it made me think about football. You know, some of us love football, some of us don't. But actually on a football pitch, not everybody is scoring a goal, are they? And it just makes me think that goals and that language does not work for everyone. And even the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, their definition of coaching is a thought-provoking and creative process that supports personal and professional growth. So if we are not about goals, then we're about growth. When we are thinking about how we set up coaching sessions, yes, there does need to be some element of direction. There does need to be something there rather than just a rambling conversation. I'm great at having those. But there does need to be some direction. But it's about growth. So really, it is not linear. Like we have this idea, we've got these models where we've got a goal, we think about the action, and then we have an output. And actually, in today's day and age, we can do that on ChatGPT or other AI solutions which are available. But that really isn't depth. If we're thinking about coaching, it's rewiring neural pathways. So actually, insight-driven coaching, helping people to really understand themselves. Because we all think that we're self-aware, but actually, most of us aren't. Most of us are seeing things through our narrow lens. The more that we can understand ourselves, the more we can make a change. So really, if we change that focus from there needs to be a goal to thinking about how do I create a space for my client to get insights that will help them grow, that will support them to thrive. So I often have people coming to our training and they say, for the ICF, you have to hit this marker, 3.1. There has to be some direction or outcome for the session. And people love that, what's the goal? Well, and they can get really stuck there. But it's just outcome or direction. And it might be that a client comes and they say, I don't know what I want to talk about. And that can be our outcome. Our outcome can be supporting the client to get clarity on what is going on in their head. That is an outcome. It doesn't need to be, I want to be better at public speaking, or I want a plan for. It can be something a lot less tangible. So we're moving away from this idea that we need a SMART goal. We're thinking about a direction of travel, a direction of insight, a direction that is going to support that growth in awareness, which is then going to be the catalyst for building new neural pathways. So of course, you might get clients that come and they love a goal. They're really driven by goals. They're really clear on what they want. Fantastic. If you find those people, about 20% of people. But you will often get clients who do not know. They're feeling stuck. They're feeling overwhelmed. They want to feel different. But the language of goals doesn't work or sit with them. And I've had clients as well who are neurodivergent that I'll say things like, what would you like to be different at the end of the session? And they're like, I don't know. Like, I'll know when I get there what's different. And so again, it just reminds me that sometimes we can have these rigid models and structures that aren't about the client, that are about, I always think it's like a sausage machine, that are getting them to go through a process that might work for us, but doesn't work for them. So hold the idea of goals lightly. Think about, how do I help the person in front of me make progress in the session that will support them to thrive outside. So that might be that they have a session where it's a really strong listening space where you're helping them by reflecting, by confirming, by exploring, understand what is going on for them. What is going on for them emotionally, cognitively, what is going on in their nervous system, what is going on intuitively, so that then they can make those connections in their brain, not our brain. You know, often we think that we need to know the answers. We need to know exactly what they're thinking. They need to know, not us. It's not us that is inside their body, that is hearing their thoughts, that is living their life. Our role is to facilitate that insight. So if you have a client that is very resistant to setting a goal, instead talk to them about how they would like to be different. What is their vision for themselves? Maybe you might want to do, and this was a great session, actually, a great study. Maybe you're creating a metaphor or an image of where they want to be. Maybe you're helping them to connect in with a version of themselves that they want to become. And, you know, maybe you are helping them to consider an alternative to where they already are. Again, people say, well, you have to frame in the positive. Our brain much prefers positive. And it does. When we are in a positive effect, we have more resource, more blood flow to the key areas of the brain. And that's great. But sometimes a session can be around reducing someone's overwhelm. We don't need to say, oh, wow, if you're feeling overwhelmed, what's the opposite? What's our goal here? How can I best support you to think about what we can do to reduce that overwhelm? How about we look at what's going on for you right now and think about what could be a way forward? You know, really supporting the client, helping them to see where they have agency and autonomy. I think this is another stickler with goals that often, especially when we've got a client who might be sponsored, so somebody else is paying for the coaching, which usually happens in a work context, our clients think they don't have autonomy and agency, and therefore the goals feel like they are given, or people come with what I call me too goals. So they don't have any connection. I had this a lot when I used to do business coaching. People would say, I want to make £5,000 a month, or I want to make £10,000 a month. I'll be like, okay, so what will that give you? And that was my answer. They didn't know, but they had been so indoctrinated to this idea that they needed to have that as a goal because they'd seen lots of other people talking about it, that it became a bit of their truth, even though they didn't think, well, what do I want? What's going to work for me? Not what's going to work for everybody else in the world, but what will work for me? And what is it about that that is important to me, not to everyone else? So you see, we've got these kind of false goals going on as well, that people are thinking they want something, but actually they're not connected. And anything, if we're not connected to it, if there isn't a meaning for us, if there isn't a purpose for us, if there's no why, as Simon Sinek would say, there's no point. So helping our clients really think about what is important to them, what they want to use the space to discuss, how they can grow professionally or personally is so key. Finding autonomy and agency for them, and also maybe moving away from this idea that we either achieve something or we don't. You know, these performance-related goals, okay? Because what can happen with those, I had this as a goal. Obviously, I had no idea that I was not going to be anywhere near this. I want to run 5K in 30 minutes. I forgot that I was nearly 50 and I hadn't ran a time anything like that for a long time. So the first time I ran, it took me about 45 minutes. And I thought, wow, I'm not going to do that. And now I could have just focused on, can I meet that goal? But actually I thought, what is the driver here? Am I going to be a fast runner? No. Does that matter? No. What is the purpose of me running? It's about my well-being and my fitness. What is the purpose of that? It's about me having more energy for my family, for my work. What is the purpose of that? My family is what drives me. So I'm doing something. I understand there is a meaning behind this. So I can let go of these expectations that I have to do things in a certain way or in a certain speed. And I can connect in with what is important for me. And if I was being coached on that, how can I do anything that's going to support my well-being? Like, what is it that is my driver? And then let's think about the behavior. So we might be thinking about drivers as well, values, meaning. So I'm not saying that goals need to go for everyone. I'm just saying the lens needs to change. We need to help our clients to really understand themselves because it's about them. It's not about putting them into a box. It's not about them going through a model. It's not about them becoming sausages in the sausage machine. It's about their growth. So let's, of course, have a direction, some kind of focus for the session, but let's not get hung up if our client doesn't have some tangible SMART goal, because lots of people just don't think and process in that way. So create spaces where your client has autonomy, agency, so they can find insights and they can grow. Reflect back on what is important to them to cover and what they want that session to be around, maybe a theme, and ask great questions. Use silence and other tools to support that creative and thought-provoking conversation. If you want to find out more about real transformational coaching, not just that transactional, there's a goal, let's go for it, which we know AI can do, come and check us out at optimuscoachacademy.com. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment below.